It is barely 5 months since Kenyans lined up to the poll in the last general election, and yet it feels pretty much that you are back in time. This time round, politics of course, politics of blame game always taking center stage. One section of political divide says they demand action, and actually they gave stern warning, and these are the ultimatum that they need to be met within 14 days. The government says they will not be cowered into submission. While these all are happening, Kenyans are going through rough time. The cost of living is continuing to skyrocket, and all this in the midst of pandemic. And plus, also tonight, our reporters have been working around the clock to bring you up to speed with the latest happenings, and of course in the world of politics, sports and business. This and many more will be coming later on, and this particular discussion we'll be having with Dr. Justus Wafula Otiato, that will be taking a look at what is happening as far as the state of the nation is concerned, and that discussion will be bringing you later on in our subsequent bulletin. And of course, first thing first, let's jump straight into our today's bulletin, then as we wait for that interview that I'm sure you have been waiting for. Alright, welcome to the broadcast. My name is AUMA Evans, and Chep Koech is our sign language interpreter tonight. Of course, we begin our bulletin today in Kitui County, where William Ruto has launched a level 5 hospital in Kanyonyo, Kitui County. The hospital has been built in the Region Police Training Center and is expected to serve Kitui resident and police officers residing in the training center. The president was accompanied by Inspector General of Police Japheth Kome and Interior CS, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki, during that bit. And James Kiri is on that story tonight.
A level 5 border hospital has been launched by President William Ruto today in Kanyonyo, Kitui County. In his speech at the event, the president assured the area locals that the hospital has been put in place to serve them and the police officers residing in the training center.
This hospital, a 130-bed level 4 facility, will offer specialized medical services including critical care to police officers, their families. And I want also to confirm here to the people of Kitui that this facility will also be available for the community in this area of Kanyonyo. And we are going to have a conversation with the governor and the county government of Kitui on how we are going to structure the relationship so that this facility can equally benefit the community here in Kitui.
President Ruto also commended the police officers in the fraternity for participating in raising funds to support the construction of the Kanyonyo Border Hospital.
To say to all the officers who contribute, I am told 50 shillings, and it is a confirmation of what 50 shillings can do. It is quite a learning curve that 50 shillings can build a 100 million shilling hospital.
The Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki saying that the construction of the Kanyonyo Border Hospital will help the police officers execute their mandate excellently, owing to good health from quality care.
For the contribution of this facility, na vile vile serikali imetusaidia na equipment ya about 250 million ambayo umeona wewe mwenyewe. We still need a few more equipment, but we think we are almost there, and this hospital will go a long way in supporting our operations. As you are aware, Your Excellency, sir, this facility here, the Kanyonyo Border Police Campus and Training Center, is supporting the operations that we have in the northern part of Kenya.
President Ruto reminded all police officers in the country of the need to always perform their duties as stipulated in the Kenyan Constitution. James Mureki Mwenda, KUTV.
All right, thank you so much, James. Now moving on to KRA. Kenya Revenue Authority Board has announced resignation of the body's Director General Githu Mburu. The board in its statement indicated that Mr. Mburu stepped down to pursue personal interest. Advocate Rispa Simeu has already stepped into the role and will stay on acting capacity until a substantive officer holder is installed. The body has also effected changes on 7 senior positions in effort to enhance revenue mobilization agenda and increase synergy into top management. Right. The Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, has ordered former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i to appear before it tomorrow at 3:30 a.m. in the morning without fail. DCI is accusing Matiang'i of publishing false information on alleged raid at his home 2 weeks ago. The investigating officer assigned the file believes that former CS is either connected to the offense or has information that could help solve the puzzle of the alleged raid at his Nairobi residence. Matiang'i, whose lawyer Dunstan Omari snubbed similar summon, already has an anticipatory bail barring authorities from harassing him. Now, citizen residents in Nairobi today shared their views following the demands of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga, giving the government only 14 days to lower the price of basic commodities, among other 5 proposals that he yesterday during Azimio rally held in Jivanjik Garden, saying failure to consider the proposals, then they will organize a massive action after 14 days lapses.
Citizens from Nairobi County shared their views today in relation to Azimio Kenya Kwanza leader Raila Odinga's message to the government to lower the price of basic commodities that citizens consume every day, accompanied by the other 5 proposals that he read yesterday in Jivanjik Gardens, where Azimio held their prayer rally, with some citizens supporting him.
Sasa mimi naonelea hivi, hata ile papa alisema ni ukweli, juu analilia sisi ni wanyonge. Sisi ni wanyonge, hata ukiona kwa nyumba yangu nimetoka hata bila chochote. Ninaamka ninaenda kutafutia watoto. Na hapo ukienda hapa hakuna kitu. Pilo umetoka na ndio pilo utarudi kwa nyumba. Kwa hivyo unge imepanda, sukari imepanda, yani kila kitu imepanda, hata maji ndio hiyo, nyumba ndio hiyo.
Ili vile tulikuwa naambiwa unga itateremuka. Haijateremuka hata kidogo. Hii shida imeanzia juu mpaka chini mashambani. Na inasumbua mwananchi wa kawaida.
Some of the citizens did not agree with Raila Odinga's plan, arguing that the government should be given enough time to conduct their duties effectively.
Serikali iliingia wakati wa ukame. Tangu serikali ishukue mamlaka, hakujanyesha mvua. So mimi I don't blame President Ruto. Na hata unga ikifika 500. Hii ni mambo ya Mungu na mwanadamu. Hivyo mimi ningeomba hata kanisa tuombe na tufunge ili Mungu atupe majira ya mvua ili naye serikali iweze kunawiri.
Let him lead by example. Mambo ya gas yote ni Raila ndiye import. And if you want any, mbogo upate license kutoka kwake. Sio punguza hiyo kwanza. Lead by examples. Uhuru apunguza mambo ya maziwa. Uhuru apunguza sukari.
Let the opposition give the government time to work. You see? Yeah, let them give the government time to work. Then we see, let us not start as early as now giving demands that when we not do this in 14 days, we'll do this.
Yesterday, ODM party leader Raila Odinga read 6 proposals that he want the government to fulfill before the end of 14 days, failure to which he would organize demonstrations against the government. Among the 6, reduction of cost of common commodities was one of them.
6. If these demands are not heeded, within 14 days, we shall lead Kenyans to massive action and to mass action across the country, power back and restore sanity.
President William Ruto answered Raila Odinga and said Kenya is a democratic state and his actions won't change people's standings.
I want to tell our friends who are used to impunity, who are used to forcing their way, that they will have no way, because this is going to be a country based on the rule of law, and nobody, let me repeat, nobody, let me say it again, nobody is going to threaten Kenyans.
There has been political differences between the opposition led by Raila Odinga and the government of William Ruto over the high cost of living, which has triggered attention from both sides. Mutunga Joseph, KUTV.
Alright, and now moving on to some other stories. Raila Odinga's term as African Union High Representative for Infrastructure and Development in Africa has ended after 5 years of service. This is according to a series of correspondence between Raila Odinga and AU chairperson Musa Faki. Odinga was appointed to the role back in October 2018, and according to AU chairperson His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Raila has, and I quote, exhibited exceptional leadership during his tenure as a special envoy. Your role in this journey, Excellency, has been invaluable, and allow me to express my profound gratitude for accepting to serve in this role during the transition period. End of quote. Raila responded to the statement, adding that he is open to other AU assignment, and he said, and I quote, indicate I have gone through challenges as I continue serving in the role as High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa, and in regard, I welcome your quick action that will free me to pursue other urgent and pressing issues. It has been an honor working with you. End of quote. The National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee has today vetted Shadrack Mose, who was nominated as Solicitor General by President William Ruto. Mose has served as Kitutu Saba Member of Parliament and will now take over from the outgoing Solicitor General Kennedy Ogeto, who has served in the position for the last 5 years.
Former Kitutu Masaba MP Shadrack Mose has appeared before the National Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs for vetting following his nomination as Solicitor General by President William Ruto. The legislators raised an array of questions and issues that need the attention of the incoming Solicitor General.
Straight to the point on whether the nominee knows the work of Solicitor General and what his vision would be.
Among the issues of concern identified by the legislators is the overhauling of the issues revolving around cases that involved the government, in consideration of the fact that the government has lost a number of cases. Moses says he will champion for the improvement of the working conditions for state councils to enable them to deliver in their roles.
Will you employ so that we can avoid this embarrassing situation where the government loses one case after another? Thank you.
I know for a fact that there are serious teething challenges regarding funding to the state law office, such that a number of state councils that we have in the state law office who are supposed to deal with these legal cases, complex legal cases, have their terms of service, I'm sorry to say, Honorable Chairman, are not good.
According to the law, the Solicitor General serves as the principal assistant to the Attorney General and, among other functions, organize, coordinate and manage the administrative and legal functions in the Office of the Attorney General, assist the Attorney General in performing their duties as the principal legal advisor to the government, conduct or assign and supervise all court cases, including appeals or petitions on behalf of the Attorney General, and subject to Article 234 of the Constitution, be responsible for the discipline of state councils and other members of staff of the Office of the Attorney General. The JLAC committee is expected to submit its report on the vetting to Parliament within 28 days. Joseph Kess, KUTV.
Right. The Senate has today afternoon adopted the report of the Standing Committee of Finance and Budget on the county government additional allocation cash disbursement scheduled for the financial year 2022-2023. The report, which was laid on the table of the House on Tuesday last week, will enable county government to receive extra resources from the national government in form of loans and grants received from various development partners. During the vote, all the 30 senators present voted in the affirmative, paving way for the wiring of the resources to the devolved units. A joint working group on data registration sensitization has been created today to provide better ideas and solutions that will help the government to curb fraud emanating from identity theft. Group was unveiled earlier today during a consultative forum meeting which was chaired by Immigration Principal Secretary John Bitok.
Immigration and Citizen Services Principal Secretary Julius Bitok today played host to representatives from 25 civil societies that have agreed to work together and conduct a public sensitization campaign on the planned massive digitization of essential registration services. Mr. Bitok was chairing the meeting, saying that the government had decided to partner with the civil society to avoid complications that will deter service delivery.
We are really committed to ensuring that we partner with the civil society. We are aware, of course, we have been having discussions with the Immaculate.
After almost 3 years of persistent drought condition, IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center (IPACT) has announced that below normal rainfall is expected in most parts of the country of the Greater Horn of Africa, over the next 3 months. Warm conditions are expected in the northeastern part of Africa with little rains, as Joseph Mutunga unpacks the IPACT report.
Delegates gathered in Nairobi, Kenya for the 63rd Greater Horn of Africa Climate Outlook that examined the forecast for the March to May 2023 season, which points towards depressed rainfall and high temperatures. Parts of Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia and Uganda are the most affected by the recent drought. Speaking during the 63rd Greater Horn of Africa Climate Outlook Forum at Nairobi Hotel, Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry Soipan Tuya said that the theme resonates well with the climate crisis that the Horn of Africa region is currently experiencing.
The drought and famine could either be an indictment on the providers of climate prediction products that do not interact effectively with users to meet their demands or otherwise. We therefore need to develop climate services that are tailored to our needs and particularly for our governments and all stakeholders that utilize these products for socio-economic planning.
Drier than normal conditions and little rainfall is expected in parts of Rwanda, Burundi, eastern Tanzania and western Kenya. On the other hand, warmer than normal temperatures are likely to be experienced in Djibouti, Eritrea, Sudan, northwestern South Sudan, southern and northeastern Ethiopia, northern Somalia, northern and western Kenya, and parts of southeastern and western Tanzania. Wetter than normal conditions are expected over the cross-border areas of Ethiopia and South Sudan, northwestern Kenya, and parts of central and southern Tanzania during the March to May rain season. ICPAC indicates raised chances of a delayed start of rainfall over the northern Tanzania and raised chances of early onset over western South Sudan. In the region severely hit by drought, the current trends are worse than those observed during the drought of 2010 and 2011. Mutunga Joseph, KUTV.
Right, thank you Mutunga for that comprehensive report. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta has met with Nigerian Chief Justice Olakoyuda Orewala in preparation for the general election in the country. In his capacity as the leader of the African Union Election Observer Mission, Uhuru has called upon all diplomats and high representatives drawn from different nations in Africa to cooperate with election observers in order to ensure that the country lives up to the African Charter of Democracy, Election, and Good Governance during the electoral process, the general election which will take place on Saturday this week. Right, it's 24 minutes past the hour and you're due for our first break. But when we come back, plenty more to follow, including this particular interview that will be talking about the state of the nation. That and many more will follow up in just a bit. Keep it on the Primetime News.
Msukosuko wa uchumi duniani pamoja na mlipuko wa janga la corona uliathiri sana kilimo katika taifa la Kenya na kote duniani.
Wakati COVID iliingia, ilitumiza sana ki market ya maziwa.
Repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pipopa si vuguvugu. Pipopa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Fashionistas, looking for a show that brings you the latest in the world of fashion, glamour, creativity, and style? Fashion Diaries got you started as we explore street fashion, modeling, runways, red carpet events, and so much more.
Catch me, Ashley Asachi, as we unlock the greatest fashion events. Keep it locked.
technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Tech Innovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
This is your first time?
Yeah, I'm kind of scared, but I can do this. Mess with me. Yeah, let's do this, man.
Welcome back and thank you for keeping it on the Primetime News. Remember, you can follow this particular broadcast on all of our social media platforms, on Facebook at KUTV Kenya, on Twitter at KUTV_Kenya, at AUMA_012. Now, during the just concluded Jivanjee Garden rally that was held by Azimio la Umoja, with its sole intention was to pray for the IEBC. Well, Odinga had given some demands and ultimatum to the government, 6 of them to be in particular, that he hopes it will be met within 14 days. And this is what Kenyans actually reacted on those and planned demo. But before that, among the 6 recommendations, or rather 6 ultimatum that Raila had wanted the government to take a look at, it is one of them is, of course, reforms in the IEBC, and he wanted the cost of living to be lowered. Failure to that, they will result to mass demonstration. But Kenyans had their say about these particular demonstrations that are planned if the government will not heed to the Azimio la Umoja 14 days ultimatum. Take a look at what Kenyans had to say.
Kila Mkenya ni Mkenya. Hata kama wewe hukupiga kura kwa Azimio, wewe ni Mkenya. Hata kama wewe hukupiga kura yoyote, wewe ni Mkenya. Kila Mkenya ana haki ya kupata huduma kwa serikali. Kila Mkenya mkubwa ambaye anafanya kazi anatoa ushuru.
Nimeona hawa watu ya Azimio jana pale Jivanjee wakijaribu kumuuzia rais wetu uoga, ati wakitutisha, wakitupigia makelele, ati wataenda maandamano, ati unga iteremuke, ati nini. Sasa hao wazee walikuwa kwa serikali ya handshake, wakaharibu Kenya. Unga ikatoka 140 ikapanda mpaka 230. Walikuwa pale. Pesa ya corona ikaibiwa bilioni 10. Walikuwa hapo. Pesa ingine ikachukuliwa ikawekwa Panama Islands. Walikuwa hapo. Wale wenye handshake miaka 10 wameuza maziwa miaka 10, hawajalipa kodi hata shilingi moja. Na walikuwa pale. Sasa atu wanatupigia makelele.
Let the opposition give the government time to work. You see? Yeah, let them give the government time to work.
then we see, let us not start as early as now giving demands that when we will not do this in 14 days, we'll do this.
Sasa mimi naonelea hivi, hata ile papa alisema ni ukweli, juu analilia sisi ni wanyonge. Sisi ni wanyonge, hata ukiona kwa nyumba yangu nimetoka hata bila chochote. Ninaamka ninaenda kutafutia watoto. Na hapo kienda hapa, hakuna kitu. Pilo umetoka na ndio pilo utarudi kwa nyumba. Kwa hivyo unge imepanda, sukari imepanda, yani kila kitu imepanda, hata maji ndio hiyo, nyumba ndio hiyo.
Well, the politics of blame game, the hurting economy, as Azimio Umoja leaders have taken to the podium to criticize the government due to high cost of living. They now want the government to restore subsidies and unite the country or resort to mass action. The government won't have none of it. While this happens, Kenyans continue to feel the pinch of high cost of living. Every day, it keeps getting worse. Which way Kenya? And now joining the conversation is Dr. Justus Wafula Otiato, or should I say Otiato Wafula, lecturer at Kenyatta University and political commentator. Thank you so much for making time, Dr. Well, when you look at all these demands and things that politicians are saying, what do you read on it? And probably, what is the current status of the economy or status of Kenya right now?
Thank you very much for bringing me here, and also thank you very much for viewers for watching. The basic fundamental is that the cost of life is definitely at a level where it can be described as unbearable. That's a fact of life. What happens from there is what we should be discussing. But we should not be negotiating whether it's high or not. The fact is that the common man might not be in a position to negotiate himself within this economic time. They are very hard and they're biting. That one we must agree. So the government of the day, we give them the mandate so that they ameliorate these pains. So their job is to make sure that the pains are lesser. We know, in Africa and in those parts of the world where the pains will always be there, but the pains must be less. They must be ameliorated. Now, how they should be ameliorated is the job of the KK Kwanza government.
All right.
How they do it, that's their problem. But they must make sure that the manager on the street feels that there's some patron somewhere up there taking care of him.
Oh, okay. Well, when you look at the 6 demands that Azimio, actually they call it the ultimatum that Azimio has given to the Kenya Kwanza government, and among the key things that actually resulted to this is the high cost of living introduction. They want introduction of subsidies, and they also want reduction of taxes and reforms in IEBC. When you look at the deep root of this problem, it dates back. But what is your view from what you have seen so far? Do you think such demands and ultimatum could be met within short period of time, 14 days to be precise? That is at 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. 14 days or not, but to address these issues, I'd rather we address them one by one.
Right.
So you raise one issue, then we deal with it, then we go to the next one. But whether it's 14 days or not, that's a debate for another day. But you can raise one issue, then we deal with it.
Okay.
There are 6. So number 1.
Why is they want the cost of living to be lowered? That is the main thing that actually they are advocating for. But one thing that I'm really interested about is, the politics of blame game. One side says, you are in the government, you caused this. The other side says, you are now in government, fix it. Until when should we see politicians throwing jabs at each other while the cost of living is high? Kenyans are hurting.
As I sit here, the blame game is not part of my business.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that we have a government in its place. And the job of government is to make sure that we are safe, first of physical security and then social security. That I can eat, I can go to the shop and the Kenya shilling is stable, I can go to the shop and do ABCD. So the point of blame game, please remove on the table.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the media. We voted people in. We voted a government. This government promised us a few things. Election is a market. where you go and say, me, I'll give you this one will give you this. So take whatever you want. It's a negotiation. And for us, as brilliant as we are not, or Kenyans are rational human beings. And we thought that the KK Kwanza government will give us the best option. And we voted them in. So as for now, the idea of blame game, remove them from the table. We should be asking the Kenya Kwanza government, what option do they have for us to lower the cost of living, the cost of electricity, and so on and so forth, all those kind of, the cost of living, as it were. Because the cost of electricity is part of the cost of living. So that's what is on the table. And that's what we should be discussing, not blame game. Blame game is not part of us. Whom are they blaming? We voted those guys out. Kenyans made a statement, a bold statement. Hey, you guys, you failed us, we don't want you. Now there's Kenya Kwanza, and you are the guys who are going to make our life. If we were in India, we'll say you will take us to Nirvana. You will take us to that stage where we feel nice and happy. So the people who are supposed to make us feel nice and happy is Kenya Kwanza. And so all these questions should be directed to the Kenya Kwanza, the Minister of Finance, the President, and all those guys of ministers. And they should be asking them, how long will it take for us to start feeling your actions? Of course, it's also unrealistic to imagine that in 1 or 2 days, these things will happen. But they should tell us scientifically, scientifically, how long can we wait for the cost of unga to come down, for the cost of electricity? The problem is that the cost of electricity, instead of coming down, is going up. And of course, you read in today's media, especially social media, where my senior, this gentleman called Dean, was talking about something else from what they promised. That one now will be a little bit unfortunate.
All right.
But they should stick to what they promised and strive to make sure that we get there. It might take time, but let us get there. But when they start disowning what they promised, then that's a tragedy.
All right. Well, when you talk about disowning and the game of shifting, of course, one of the key mandates, and during their campaign, this is what they pledged during their campaign, one of them to reduce the cost of living within 100 days. Now, it's 5 months down the line, the cost of living continued to skyrocket. Electricity up, water up. As a Kenyan, do you feel you are secure, just like you said? The part of Kenya Kwanza government is to make you feel secure in terms of security, food insecurity, all those. Do you feel secured?
No, Kenyans are secure. Let us not sell to Kenyans this idea of we are in trouble, we are just about to sink. No, Kenya is a going concern. We shall be there even in 2030. But the point is this. The Kenya Kwanza Brigade, and they are very serious scholars, very brilliant characters there, who looked at what was going on at that particular time, and they did their calculations, they did their reasoning, their conceptualization, and they thought we can do it in 100 days. But me and you must agree that being there and conceptualizing are two different things. Empiricism, science is about logic or empiricism. You can imagine, you can conceptualize. But when it comes to the ground, approximating your thinking to reality, at times you find it to be very different. And that's where now we are. That they're realizing that their conceptualization, their thinking, their logical approach to things is not what's on the ground. That when they expose their thinking to what we call approximating to reality on the ground, they find, hapa kunaendanga tofauti. Si hivyo, as the Kenyan on the ground will say, akuendangi hivyo. So they are trying to reorganize themselves on the ground. Let's give them time. On that one, I'll tell you, let's give them time. But my argument will be, time, yes, but for how long?
That's a good question. For how long? Yes. Azimio la Umoja has given them ultimatum that shall be met within 14 days. Well, you have read about the 6 demands, and of course, the time frame is something very interesting to look at. Do you think 14 days is enough?
Those six demands are the ones I want to go one by one. What is the first demand?
Let's talk about the cost of living. They want it to be lowered. That is their first demand.
Let me tell you, and that's why I have a problem with the Azimio la Umoja. You are taking the government on. Raila Odinga is an enigma. The whole world has accepted. This kind of a man you cannot understand. And you must accept, me and you, and anybody else must accept that we have seen this guy for the last like 50 years, if not 40, that he can change himself in situations. But the most constant is that Raila survives best in a crisis. So when he creates a crisis, you better withdraw that crisis from him, pull the carpet under his feet. Raila will be left alone. But when you want to play with him in a crisis, when you want to join him in the crisis, you might easily fail. It's akin to the famous fable that a pig, don't play with a pig in the mud, because the one who will live there more dirtier than the pig, because the pig is used to, from that kind. Raila is used in crisis. All right. And I'm told Kibaki and Uhuru, those who think they know more than I do, Kibaki and Uhuru believed in that, and so they made sure that Raila is comfortable. There is no crisis, and you see, when Raila is not in a crisis, he's not himself, so he doesn't even know what to do, and you can easily crush him. You can easily do away with him, and that's, if you look at the last general elections, Raila being a statesman and being in the so-called on the right side, as it was, we have the left and the right, and the right usually don't demand so much. It's like things are okay, they are the status quo, we are okay, we are doing well. It was very difficult for me to say that. Raila is at his best when he's saying things are wrong, where he is right now. Things are wrong. Guys, rise up. We must carry up placards. We must say no. That's where Raila thrives best. And I'll be one of these fellas who will advise that please don't take Raila there.
All right.
He will thrive.
But is it true that the economy is hurting?
That's a fact.
The high cost of living is high?
That's a fact. And the economy is not just hurting in Kenya. The economy is hurting across the third world.
All right.
And I dare say here that we are now experiencing the third phase of structural adjustment programs.
All right.
You and me know. If you don't know, let me tell you that the World Bank is forcing our governments in this part of the world to withdraw taxes from the telecos. Google is not going to pay tax so soon. But that tax is me and you is going to pay. And when me and you are going to pay those taxes and withdrawing taxes from things like food and whatever, growing food and like that, we are going to suffer more. So it's something more than this government. But I might go ahead and tell you things as a student of politics that there's no government which has been overthrown over such issues. Because what do? Bring in subsidies. And who pays for the subsidies? We are the ones who will pay for the subsidies in the next 10 years. Borrow more money. Who will pay for that money? We are the ones who will pay for that money in the next 10 or 15 or 50 years. So this government, and that has been the problem with Africa. If you look at the great Africa, Nyerere included, Sankara, my senior comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe, they have suffered because of this, because they have been pushed to the wall. When they didn't want to borrow, they had to borrow. But when you are borrowing more than what you need, at their conditionalities, like now they are telling us we must excuse the telecos from taxes. I mean, who will pay? It's me and you. So at times you have to ask yourselves, even if you are in the opposition, are we being nationalistic? Are we being patriotic? But that's for another day.
All right. In your own opinion, how do you propose we should go about this? Because as a country, we need a dialogue, we need a conversation, yes, between leaders. But how do we move from this crisis?
I agree with you to forging a better future. We need a dialogue. Because this is an African problem, this is a Kenyan problem, we must solve it as Kenyans. But we might not need ultimatums.
All right.
Because ultimatums will take us to the cliff, cliffhanger. Just imagine, Raila Odinga is Raila Odinga. You might wish him away or not, but it's Raila Odinga. And people are hurting out there. And he's promising them Nairivana, he's promising them a good life. So they might come to that cliffhanger. And yet the government doesn't have money, for example, for subsidies and that kind of stuff. What will happen to Kenya? These are things we need to ask ourselves. Are we going to the cliffhanger to jump ourselves to the other side? Or, we need to talk to ourselves. And what I'm trying to agree with you is that we need a dialogue. as Kenyans, not as Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, but as Kenyans. These are our problems. We have to solve it. And beyond that, as Africans, if the World Bank and those who connive against us every evening and morning have decided that now this is the time for the third wave of structural adjustment programs that messed us up, especially my generations, we must ask ourselves, is this the time to tell them, please, hey, hold on a bit?
Well, the big question is, how can we do it and who will do it?
Me and you. There's no simple question there. It's me and you must suffer. You know, Africans have this little thing that I used to listen to reggae many years ago. And I still listen to reggae. And they used to have a song, I don't know who sang it, that obviously you are mistaken. There's a song, a very famous song. Because Africans believe, the song used to go like, obviously you are mistaken. The last train is leaving you behind. They don't bother leaving you behind. The last train is leaving. They don't bother leaving you behind. But you are mistaken that they bother to leave you behind. By the way, Europeans have no bother leaving you behind. They will leave you behind and they won't even think about it twice. So it's our problem to think about this business. That, oh, these guys are moving and they're leaving us behind. What do? You know, there's a book called, the question, the Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda means the base. The Americans took these characters to Afghanistan to fight the Russians in the 70s. But when they defeated the Russians, they were left there. And the book, which is written by Mahmoud Mamdani, is that they were left under a tree, the base. Al-Qaeda simply means the base. They were left under a tree somewhere there or under a rock. So they were like, oh, we have been left. So what do we do? So we have been left under some rock or under something. We must think way out. And of course, Osama bin Laden came out of it. Whether it's successful or not, that's another discussion for another day. But the point is this: we have been left under a rock. So what do we do? Look at Zimbabwe. Look at Tanzania. Look at Kenya. For us, we have never been left under a tree, by the way. Somehow, the West have always thought that we are so important, we cannot be left. So we have always been taken care of. But if you look at Tanzania, if you look at Zimbabwe, if you look at Burkina Faso, these fellas have really been messed up. But somehow, they have woken up, they have realized, oh, we have been left. So what do? They looked aside and they, okay, let us negotiate. We negotiate within ourselves. This gentleman, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, is a great statesman. This gentleman, you call the president, His Excellency the President Ruto, is a great statesman. And they are all very reasonable characters. They should sit together or in their rooms, or their handlers must know that, okay, this West, what do they want from us? And so, and what do we want from ourselves? Because at times we blame the West when the problem is here. The other day they were cleaning Nairobi River. Do you want America to come and clean Nairobi River for you? So some of the problems are just between me and you. Sit down, renegotiate.
All right.
We shall move forward. Okay.
Well, even as we wind this particular discussion, of course, one of the key things for the government, of course, is to lower the cost of living. That one will still hold them accountable for that because it was within 100 days, and now it is past 100 days. They say give us time, of course. If there is one thing that Kenyans lack is patience.
If I have to cut you short, even if they want to give, I am one man who believes it might, they were not there, so when they reached there, they found things are different. But please, give us a timeline. Is it 6 months? Is it 1 year? But you cannot just keep on hoping that somehow, you know, David Livingstone came here in 1075 AD, he was in the Congo, and he was telling Africans to get saved, Jesus Christ is coming tomorrow. He never told them tomorrow was when, because even today is still tomorrow. We want a finite timeline. Are they taking 6 months, 1 year? That's right. Please, we should hold them responsible for that. All right. Raila should be reminded to hold them responsible for that.
Among the ultimatum, one of them was high cost of living. There is the reforms in the IEBC, because when we have to look at the deep root of this, the blame game, the squabbling between the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, they date back to all these ultimatum that have been narrowed down to 6. And there is reforms in the IEBC. They want the current recruitment of IEBC officials to be stopped, commissioners I should say, to be stopped, and they want reforms and consultative process. Is it attainable?
It is. Everything is possible, my dear brother. Let us not. Reforms alone are not enough. Any day, anywhere. America is an example in quotes, of a very successful democratic experiment, but it is not based on the constitution. It is based on non-constitutional agreements. You know, Americans have so many of what we call norms, political norms, things that you have just agreed as gentlemen. Yes. Do you know, even it's not true until I think which year, where they say that you cannot rule 3 times. But you could continue. But it's just a gentleman's agreement.
Right.
Yes, it's not. So let us not peg these things on constitutionalism with things that are written. Yes, they are good and they're great. But we must also try to, as I'm a sociologist, try to normalize, that's what we call hardware. What about the software? Our thinking as individuals. If you are the chairman of IEBC, the law says this and this and this. But what do you think is the right thing under that time?
All right.
So that has been our problem.
All right.
The software.
All right. Now, as we come to the tail end, I want you to merge 2 things. First of all, it's about the subsidies that the Kenya Kwanza government, of course, they do away with that. And the next thing, I want you to give me the hit and misses of Kenya Kwanza, of course, even as we narrow down. How do you look into this, the subsidies thing that Kenya, that ASMIO, they want them to be reintroduced, at least for them, they believe it will usher in some sort of relief to Kenyans who are suffering right now as far as food security is concerned in the country.
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate, but if you ask me, Oteto Wafula seated here, I don't believe in subsidies.
All right.
Yeah, they don't help anybody. They only help a few capitalists up there. I don't believe in subsidies. The country, the state has many ways of especially subsidies of food. You'd rather have subsidies in the implements, which will take a long time, like to subsidize bolea, subsidize tractor, subsidize all kind of stuff. Yes, but to subsidize the cost of maize, that's just subsidizing a few individuals in government.
Right.
Yes.
But if you were to, so far, 5 months into office, if you were to rate the Kenya Kwanza government, of course, that is a question that I ask you about the hit and misses. In a score of 1 to 10, what's your rating?
I'll give them 7. They're trying.
7 is a huge number.
Yes.
Why?
It was almost an A. They're trying. I told you, we are imagining that this is a Kenyan problem.
All right.
Go to Tanzania. I was watching on Twitter the other day. How do you call them? Ufugaji. A person was dying when he was waiting. So the drought. Of course, we have in Kenya. We have so many other things adding up, corruption and all of stuff. But the point is that I told you at the beginning. This is the 3rd wave of structural adjustment program.
All right.
We might talk about it next year. Where telecos, World Bank is trying to force Kenya government not to tax telecos, the Google and the group, but tax you and me. You know the cost of electricity now. That is what is coming from the telecos. And you can imagine what Google makes here. But because they are the World Bank, and some of us, we earn from the World Bank, even me and you, we will not touch them. We want to hit our government. But leave those big boys. The moment Africans realize that our problems are here, so we must hit those boys first, then come back. But I'm not saying you cannot excuse the government from that, because you also know there's a lot of corruption. If you look at the electricity tariffs, there's a lot of corruption, and so there's a lot of mismanagement, and so on and so forth. So if you can solve corruption and mismanagement, if mismanagement is not corruption, we might be somewhere, but still we shall be this way. Let us not cheat each other.
Okay. Otiato Wafula,
But what I wanted to tell you is this. When I was a youngster, in first year,
okay,
if you go to the University of Nairobi, there's some underground. At the library, there's an underground there. And I've always told my students, Ali Mazrui came to University of Nairobi in 1971, to give a public lecture, which Professor Chola, my mentor, used to talk about so much. And that lecture, public lecture, Mazrui used to talk about Milton Apollo Obote, who was having a lot of problems at that time in Uganda. But he was describing the way I want to describe Raila Odinga in one way or the other. That Milton Apollo Obote, the man, there's a difference between Milton Apollo Obote, the man, the politician, and the statesman.
All right.
Because Raila last year was a statesman. He could tolerate a lot of Uhuru Kenyatta's problem if he understands their relationship with the international environment. So, Milton Apollo Obote, the man, the politician, was the far left of Milton Apollo Obote, the man. But Milton Apollo Obote, the statesman, if you give him power, is the far right of Milton Apollo Obote, the man. And Mazrui will go ahead to say, nevertheless, this man is lacking in the charisma of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, bereft of the intellectual endowment of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. Nevertheless, he is a consummate politician.
All right.
You can say that to Raila Odinga. You can say, oh, this is not Raila Odinga, but this man is a consummate politician.
Okay.
And if you assume him, you are in trouble.
All right. Thank you so much, Otiato Wafula, for making time. It's always a pleasure to have you. All right. Well, we take another yet short break. When we come back, up next is Sport News.
So once we do the balancing during the layering. So once we put the animal manure layer, we again repeat the process of wetting with the microorganisms. We add the eggshells and a little bit of wood ash, and then now we go to the green matter section. The green waste is not just only crops, but we also look for indigenous plants that have high nutrient value. So we also incorporate that in the green matter layer. And once we do that layer, we also again water with the microorganisms, the eggshells, the wood ash, and the layer continues until we reach the height that we desire. After that, we cover just to increase the temperatures.
You need to look for high quality friends.
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, you know Portmore. That's my village.
Kanga tu chini hapo ukinyepia ukikatia mademo akipita.
Sina pesa saa hii, nimekuja kukopesa choo.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Technovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
So once we do the balancing during the layering. So once we put the animal manure layer, we again repeat the process of wetting with the microorganisms. We add the eggshells and a little bit of wood ash, and then now we go to the green matter section. The green waste is not just only crops, but we also look for indigenous plants that have high nutrient value. So we also incorporate that in the green matter layer. And once we do that layer, we also again water with the microorganisms, the eggshells, the wood ash, and the layer continues until we reach the height that we desire. After that, we cover just to increase the temperatures.
Alright, thank you and welcome back, of course, and this is where we take a look at the latest happening in the world of sports. Kenya Professional Boxing Commission has scheduled a rematch between Tanzanian sensational boxer Karim Mandonga and Kenya's Daniel Wanyonyi that is slated for March 18th at Savo Ballroom in Kenyatta International Conference Center, KICC, Nairobi. The last time the duo met, Mandonga defeated Wanyonyi in a round 6 of 10 bout at KICC. Wanyonyi will be looking to bounce back from defeat in front of home crowd. Riton Okwiri, alias Boom Boom, Fatuma Zarika and Nick Makavali Mwangi are also set to take to the ring pending agreement with promoters and their managers. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for keeping us company in the last 1 hour or so. My name has been AUMA Evans and Ruth Chepkoech has been our sign language interpreter tonight. Bye bye and good night.